What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed.
$4.99 from Cat was taken. Can I get 30% of what Slaw gives since here you Steam King my memes?
Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. Our brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race.
All right, guys. Hello. How are you? This I got kind of like a phlegmy throat from dinner. Anyway, yes. I'm gonna try and be a little quiet because it's so late. I'm also a little bloated. I had a Caesar salad in case you guys are curious. All right. You know, just the huge terms of dinner behaviors. Anyway, we got a lot to cover tonight. I don't think I'll get to everything that I have on my list this evening. For example, there's the stuff with James Somerton, which has gotten very interesting. We'll get to that. I do want to defend Vangelina first, because I actually care about that over James Somerton. I know, shocking revelation. Guy I've never heard of before, may or may not have died. I don't care about him. But yeah, chicken and rice only. I didn't go to the gym today, which is another pain in the ass. I've been home all day. My sleep schedule's out of whack. It's like midday for me. But yeah. So VangelinaSkov is a drama reporter mainstay. What up, Ghetto 2 Mad? Oh, fuck. Sorry, I'm a little like... Ugh. I gotta get that out of my system. But... yeah, so Vangelina was recently accused of plagiarism, which, by the way, let me just say this. I feel like since H Bomber Guy's plagiarism video, people have lost their marbles about plagiarism. I think in school and academia, arguments about plagiarism are one thing. But having done time in the game industry, the amount of people who nick code from GitHub and just go, well, it worked, is astronomical. But there's like a reasonable amount of annoyance to have at plagiarism. And then there's like absolutely batshit insane. And for some reason, it's gotten really outrageous, right? It's gotten really outrageous. I think I personally, as a grown adult, don't really care that much. And I work in a creative field. You know, and here's the thing, the stuff that I do creatively, so, you know, the D&D stuff I make, well, one, there's also an ethos of sharing things freely, so if stuff ends up getting pirated and put somewhere else, I don't care.
$1.99 from Cloudy. Hot people have tummy problems.
You know,
pensive face.
I was talking to Toxic recently, and she said I had hot girl tummy because I have tummy problems all the time. So, but you know, if somebody were to like put my things that I have like a legal right to out there, I would just go and pursue it through legal means, right? Just because I know how to do those things, and that's what you do when you're an adult. Plagiarism matters when it gets ridiculous, like the Somerton case. At He did plagiarize a lot, right? But sometimes it's like they plagiarized one thing and then they end up on r/YouTube drama, and then all of a sudden all these like idiots just start molding about it 24/7, or they go out looking for it, and it's a little goofy, in my opinion, right? Now I should say when the H bomber guy Somerton video came out, uh you would have sworn that this guy shot someone. In my opinion, the reaction to it was really, really insane. Uh, Plagiarizing is bad, but the response to that, there was like people being like, he should kill himself now, which he may have done, and other such various things. I think the means of reaction, it was not an equal and opposite reaction to James Somerton, right? I don't know why. Whenever like a and it's usually BreadTube that this happens. Not to throw shade, but it usually is. Whenever something happens with BreadTube people, their audience goes ballistic. And these are like 20 to 30-year-old adults who are running with righteous fury and indignation on a new crusade to stop this week's bad guy. Um, it's not an appropriate level of response. It's very outrageous, and I think it's the political angle of BreadTube that musters so much. Like it just musters a lot of righteous indignation and fury, to the point where I think it is a little not productive, in my opinion, right? I just sent some tweets Ethel made about it in the Misk channel. I went to law school, and I must say, YouTubers and artists are the number one people who don't seem to understand plagiarism laws well enough to talk so much about them. To be honest, I don't even think plagiarism was a means of discussion until the H bomber guy video. But it's I don't know. It kind of bleeds into that culture war thing, right? And I think people were mad about James Somerton being a bad representative of a community rather than the reality of the plagiarism itself, as if we got away from that. I also think, H Bomber Guy's video about the plagiarism got a little, it's never I just have the cake. They always got to eat it too. And I think it's just a means of how different communities make their videos that are call out post type things, where it can't just be a video about that. It also has to be like a call out post to Internet Historian, which that example he gave of plagiarism was very bad. But then he also turned it into like, well, Internet Historian may or may not be a crypto fascist, which if you don't know what that means, don't worry. That means you're not terminally online. But yeah. But I think the more drama I watch happen, the less emotional I get about it, because one, I don't have the energy. Two, I'm a grown adult. And three, I think for you, advice to the audience, it's just not worth it to get so worked up. I understand like finger wagging, but like people. There are people who take it like way too far, right? Like it's one thing to pack watch someone. It's one thing to go to their Twitter and be like, I want to fucking see your life fall apart, you piece of shit. I hope everybody in your life leaves you. Like I see stuff like that all the time. Like Wilbur Soot, right? Wow, Diesel, are you a are you the crypto fascist? No, I am not hiding my fascist tendencies. I am at what's like another batshit insane political take. They're like the guys who are like they believe we should go back to cave like neo-primitivists, right? They're people who are like we should just, you know, get rid of all technology and we should all live like the cavemen lived. There's people like that. Or like neo-monarchists who are like the king should be in charge of everything again and we should have dynastic lineage and lords. No, yeah, Luddites is not the word. They're like neo-primitivist, and it's like the political philosophy of like anarcho-primitivism. That was it. Anarcho-primitivism. Excuse me. Yeah, go back to monkey. But yeah, um. Anyway, we're gonna talk about the Vangelina stuff first because I think she deserves defense a little bit for everything that happened, and I'm also going to give a little of my opinions as a reporter type character in the space, right? So I'll be giving my opinions as like reporter Andy, to put it another way, right? Anyway, we're gonna go through the story in chronological order, so we'll do that. Okay, so shout out to Chud Logic for screen capping this. Anyway, so this was to VangelinaSkov from Essence. What's her name? Or what's their name? I don't know their gender. I'm probably gonna misgender them. Essence of Thought. So the channel Essence of Thought. So Vangelina is a drama channel. She's more like AT commentary. She's somewhere in between, right? So Essence of Thought says, "Hi, I'm reaching out to you because I learned that your channel has plagiarized several of my videos. Your channel's video, Lily Orchard, YouTube's biggest creep, Lily Pete, contains several screenshots which are identical to the ones from my video. The presenter copies several of my phrases, almost word for word, and the presenter references the source of our victim's testimony, who has not shared their story anywhere. Plagiarism is not only morally wrong, but is also a violation of copyright law. Not a lawyer." First of all, yeah, I've never heard Essence of Thought speak, so thank you for that. Stay silent. I have no idea who this person is, but I hear they were also in other drama before this. Essence of Thought has always intended for our resources to be freely used by others, so we usually only require you to link our channel in the video description. Credit us for the screenshots and have the presenter cite us whenever one of our ideas or pieces of evidence is used in the video. Since you, your writers, or your researchers did not do so, we feel okay, and this is outrageous, right? So let's say okay, first of all, I have been cited in videos without being sourced before. I don't care. Personally, a lot of my Illuminati coverage, and you know, I did, and you might have seen this stream, right? But I paid and didn't make any money from this video. I paid $30 a month for 6 months to be in Illuminati's Discord server. I believe it was Vangelina who sourced me, and she did credit me, by the way, right? So I don't think this is, I think this is a mistake rather than she credited me. But then Omni credited Vangelina, even though it was my reporting. So he sourced someone who sourced me. And I didn't get the credit for the source. He reported it as if Vangelina had done it, rather than me having done it. And it was frustrating and a little stupid to be like, okay, come on, a bigger publication isn't covering me. This is stupid. And then I went, well, like, what are you going to do about it? Right. Apparently, Essence of Thought has been harassing another creator for like 5 years now, so this isn't new. Oh, right. So that's an example. I wish you luck in getting paid. Yeah, fucking, I'm just gonna deal. Right. So my opinion is, right, when I leak screenshots, that's news. That's public knowledge. I don't think that I am entitled to money from you, right? So somebody reads my messages and screen grabs that I got, that's free info, right? That is not something I want to gatekeep. Nobody is entitled to give me money. There shouldn't be an exchange of money, period. I don't think so. I think an exchange of money is egregious and gets in the way of reporting. Um, and I don't think that's particularly good. I also think 30% is an obscene amount of income. Okay? That's an obscene amount of the income. Obscene. It's way too much for the content in particular, right? It doesn't make any sense. Based on the fact that 13 minutes of a 38-minute video are clearly plagiarized, you probably want to timestamp that. That includes AdSense. So they want 30% of all net earnings for the month. So AdSense, Patreon, and sponsorship from HelloFresh, right? So that 30% of each of those things adds up. That's an obscene amount, right? Let's say HelloFresh paid, and these are numbers I pulled out of my ass. Let's say Vangelina makes $1,000 from Patreon, $1,000 from HelloFresh, like $1,000 from that video. That's an obscene amount of money. Okay, 30% of each of those? No, I would never agree to those terms. I tell you to go fuck yourself. See you in court. That's outrageous. That's outrageous. There's no way I would laugh at you. There's too much money. Okay. So it's pulling what out of where? These actions are to be taken along with issuing a correction apology to all social media. I mean, at most, I'd make a tweet, or I'd update the description to include you as a source, as well including an explanation to the issue at the top of the video description, run by us first, explaining the error. No, like what? Like that's outrageous. This is like, I'm aware you updated your video description since the email to include everyone you plagiarized, excluding me. In spite of the fact, see, you know what's funny? They talk like they're a team of multiple, but you can tell it's a team of one. Did they try to DM Vangelina for credit first, or is this the first response they have? I don't know. Vangelina has a response video, but we'll get to it. Right. Okay, so another thing. She reached out to HelloFresh about it. Yeah, I don't. No, don't fucking talk to me. Go fucking talk to my lawyer. That's my response. If you're gonna talk like this to me, talk to my lawyer. Don't talk to me. Like, I don't need to talk to your stupid ass. You have 0 sense, 0 fucking business etiquette. If you want to go after my sponsors saying that I plagiarize you, then guess what, buddy? You can see me in court. I am, suffice to say, disappointed with your course of action and would like to give you one final chance to make amends before I go public with everything. So, Ethel here, which is an old person's name. That was mean. That was just mean. From what I saw in the Essence of Thought video, these were only messages. Two, another thing I should mention is sometimes I receive DMs or I receive information from a means that other people get, right? So I've been covering the Yandere dev stuff, right? And I will end up sourcing the woman who put out the video about Yandere dev. But I received videos about Yandere dev, the same videos she has via a third-party means. I shouldn't need to source her for those things I received from somebody else that wasn't her, right? So, Vangelina is scared. EOT's reputation is scary. Also in Vangelina's video, EOT said she wants to burn Vangelina's reputation to the ground. Oh, I'm going to have a lot of fun watching this video, aren't I? Right? But I don't need to source that YouTuber for that footage that I got through a third-party means that has nothing to do with that YouTuber. Okay? I don't need to. There's a chance that Vangelina could have gotten that there, right? But again, if we're talking about news and reporting on abusers and creeps and pedos and whatever the fuck, obviously, you know, source people correctly, but like, let's not be outrageous about this. And this is outrageous. This is cartoonish.
$5 from Cat was taken. She got 0 cents, 0 AdSense, 0 women, 30% tears, no lawyer anyway. Chat, did you know that with code D10 you can buy coffee at Manapot Coffee?
Okay, so people keep mentioning Rachel Oates. Is there like a dynamic to this that I'm missing out on? I'm gonna check the Discord right now in the MISC section. Let's keep miscellaneous drama and news. Jump to present. Let me switch back to my webcam. I don't want to accidentally. Jessica Pistol shows up in this. Okay. So is Ethel Thurston like some fucking schizoid? Because she's kind of coming off like a crazy person now. Rachel Oates is the other person Essence of Thought has been harassing. Okay. She stalked Rachel Oates for years. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So she's crazy. She's a crazy bitch. All right. Understood. Anyway, let's watch it. I'm certain that this has lots of this. There's a lot here. So for example, Jessica Pistol. I'll let us speak for its. The person who Ethel Thurston stole the screenshots from has claimed Ethel threatened him as well. Okay. Okay. All right. There's like lore to this, right? But we're not gonna get into it. Obviously, Essence of Thought got the messages from somewhere. Essence of Thought didn't propagate them herself. A source can go to multiple reporters about a story. You don't have exclusive rights to who a person talks to. By the way, you fucking psycho.
Hello there YouTube, it's been a while and we'll cover why that is and where I've been towards the end of the video. But first, we have something much more important to talk about, and that's the fact that our research on this channel has been plagiarized by another YouTuber, VangelinaSkov, who, after being approached by me, seemingly tried to scare me off using the threat of lawyers.
No, hold on. First of all, you invoked legal terms first. Okay, you wanted money to be exchanged. If you want money to be exchanged, I want lawyers present. Okay, I want a contract. This threat of lawyers, my fucking dick and balls, bruh. Like, I'm sorry.
That's right. Mere months after H-Bomber Guy released his bombshell of a video on this very topic, someone who
fuck off. I hope H-Bomber Guy is kept up at night if James Somerton did something, because this is the ridiculous discourse. This is stupid.
who has dozens of videos covering Illuminati's death spiral, thought it'd be a great idea to just rip myself and a bunch of other people off, only to then double down in the exact same way Illuminati did when caught in the act. Oh, it's gonna be one of those videos.
I have a, you are not representing that accurately at all. Like already, I can tell. Like that's not accurate to what was represented in the slightest.
But before we continue, a quick content warning for the following: sexual assault.
I don't know what the fuck is wrong with my screen. Like it's having like gamer moment. I don't know why that's happening. That happens sometimes.
Grooming, transmisia, misgendering, and injury.
Okay, I got a pretty PC audience. I don't know what transmisia means. Can somebody please give me a definition? Chad, I actually need a definition. Yeah, and also that's such a false equivalency comparing Blair and Vangelina. That's not accurate at all, right? We're talking about somebody who's a serial litigious, in my opinion, sociopath who completely just tries to control the narrative. Transmisia is transphobia. Transmisia, from my understanding, is super transphobia. It's a one step up from phobia. This. Okay, so we're just misia is hate. I don't. Okay, it's like it kind of sounds like a synonym, but you know. Super transphobia sounds a little funny, I gotta be honest.
If you like our work and appreciate the research put into each video, please consider supporting the channel via Patreon. You can also support us by liking, commenting, and sharing this video on social media. I'd also just like to take the time to remind our viewers that the statements made throughout our videos are the opinions of myself, the host, based on the evidence I have available to.
What is wrong with my computer? Why is it doing this? Let me just boom. Let me just open it up again. I don't know why that's happening. Hopefully it's not too annoying.
Me. They are not and should not be taken as unquestionable fact.
This is the transphobia tech tree. I'm about to go super transphobia 3. Disavow, 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 disavow. That was funny. It was just funny. Disavow.
Which is why we reference everything, because we're fallible. Thus we strive to give you, the viewer, the ability to check all evidence for yourself in order to make up your own mind, which is what the reference numbers in the top left corner are for, being numbers that match up.
I gotta be frank, I don't think I have. I've tried to do the reference numbers, and I've done work for other YouTubers so that way they could have reference numbers.
$5 from Axis 1247. This isn't your average ordinary everyday transphobia. This is advanced transphobia.
Too late, already clipped and sent to Keffel. Well, Keffels is trying to make the James Somerton drama about her, which, you know, fuck her. But you know what? If we're gonna be frank and address drama accordingly, Keffels, well, let's talk about the fucking donation charity money, Keffels. Let's talk about that. Where did it all go, Keffels? Where did it all go?
With the reference list found in the transcript linked down below. As such, we encourage
why is my screen
viewers to do their own
hold on. Let me boom
research to reach an informed conclusion about the topic. Hi there, my name is Ethel Thurston, she, her, they, them, and today we're going to be talking about the fact that VangelinaSkov ripped off
I don't know why the video is being rejected. You know, like it's literally like lagging.
$2 from Cat was taken. Tell Christian the Narc I say hi.
Cat says hi, Christian the Narc.
4 years of hard work and presented.
Diesel, did you pre-watch this? Please say no. I never pre-watch. Almost never.
Said work as her own in her recent video, Lily Orchard, You Choose.
Real talk, I hang out with a lot of trans spaces. I've never heard transmisia before. Neither have I. I have people that are trans and like not gender conforming, and I've never heard that before in my entire life until this moment. I consider myself a really PC and well-versed individual.
Biggest creep. We'll also be discussing how she or her management firm, Solaro Management, tried to bluff me into backing down via escalating the matter to their lawyer.
Well, you escalated it first. You were trying to get a legalized notarized you escalated it first.
Which, if you couldn't tell by the video, failed. Now there's a surprise. The work I'm talking about is, of course, our 7-part series on Lily Orchard, more specifically the following 5 videos, each to varying degrees. Lily Orchard encouraged a friend to groom a minor, Lily Orchard grooms her audience with victim testimony, Lily Orchard sexted a 16-year-old, second victim testimony, debunking Lily Orchard's pro-child...
I will call in and be the counterbalance to his PC. Oh my god.
Predator arguments, and lastly, Lily Orchard's pro-child predator fanfic, Stockholm. The production...
This is an absolute whiplash. So let me understand the basis here, right? They got exclusive first-hand accounts from somebody who was a victim of Lily Orchard to do the Lily Orchard reporting. It doesn't mean that person can't talk to anybody else. I don't...
For the series took a long time. Myself and Levi began working on the series in January of 2020. You see, in December of...
Yeah, they made 7 videos and Scov made what? 1? Exactly.
2019, I'd given Lily Orchard a shout out in one of my videos, presenting her as a safe person due to the way she projects an unabashed hostility towards sexual predators, very rarely seen, only for me to be approached by someone 2 days later about her history of Stockholm.
So you promoted this person and then it turned out that they were a pedophile. Okay. Yeah, essence of thought as a person who's never heard of you before. Great start.
$5 from Fernando H. Transmisia was made to get around the transphobic "I'm not afraid of trans people" line.
I feel like I use the prefix phobic words to describe people who are like have an irrational hatred of those in minority groups, but okay, we can make extra words of it. I understand. We're trying to like make fun of the, academia language that this person has.
Both myself and Levi began our own solo investigations, during which I removed the links to Lily's channel before reconvening a day or 2 later. Both of us had reached the same conclusion of, holy shit, there's even more.
Yeah, so you went investigating and then you found out there was stuff there, and then you break the story and then other people cover your work. That's how journalists grow and build up a reputation. I don't know what to fucking tell you.
I immediately nuked the video, issued an apology, and got to work. I feel compelled to note that I nuked the video in spite of the fact that it was, and to this day remains, the one and only time I discussed being groomed as a 15-year-old, along with how I was subsequently chased out of the furry fandom on YouTube.
Ethel, sweetie, baby, I don't need to know your lore. I don't need to know this. I don't need to know this. This is not the reason for the video. I don't need to know you were groomed. I don't need to know about this. I don't need to know about this.
After I blew the whistle on the 30-year-old man who groomed me. That's actually what led me to create the channel Essence of Thought, acting...
Are you kidding me? You know what? If we had less pedophiles in the world, we wouldn't have so many bred to essayists. I'll put it 1.25.
As a new start for myself. So it was an incredibly personal video, making it difficult to destroy, but we deemed it...
Yeah, it was a personal video making it difficult to destroy. Like, why'd you take it down? I mean, like, just put out a comment saying, hey, actually, turns out this other person I thought was good is also a pedophile. Okay, pause. Essence of Thought. 2 times now you've been around pedophiles. Just saying, or avowing pedophile. Like, Lily Orchard, who I promoted, was a pedophile. I was previously groomed by a pedophile. You know, two isn't a pattern. If we get to a third one, we're gonna have a pattern here. And you know, as Mouthy Buddha would say, he recognizes patterns.
Dangerous to remain up. I also felt personally responsible to everyone that had seen the video before it was taken down, thus setting myself to alerting as many people to the danger as possible. We made a couple of posts before beginning work on what was, at the time, planned to be a single video. As for our investigation, researching, planning, and writing the video turned out to be an absolute nightmare. There was just so much going on, so many little things that connected in so many little ways. That's why, whilst I knew I wanted to do the Incros video as a standalone piece, I didn't have any idea as to how we were going to do the rest. Figuring out that doing one video wasn't going to work for us because it didn't give these specific cases the time and attention they required is why the Incros video came out in April of 2021, yet the next video, the one with Glaz's testimony,
$2 from
that
Cat
wouldn't
was
come out until
taken.
October
My view
of
is be summed
2022.
up by the duality of Pippa.
That's how much research and preparation was going into these videos. I remember just sitting there for weeks, going through snapshots of Lily Orchard's Tumblr, just hundreds and hundreds of pages, looking for new stuff or trying to find old stuff that no longer had its original
What
source.
does any of this have to do with plagiarism? I know all of this is unnecessary context. None of this is needed. And then on top of that, if all of this information was publicly available on Tumblr, is it not even possible that Vangelina could have pieced it together herself? I mean, I don't know if that's really the case. I haven't watched her video, but I mean, that's completely reasonable to assume that she watched the first video about it and then went off searching.
And when I was done with Lily Orchard,
$5 from Cat was taken. Last one was
Thank you,
supposed to be a $5.
Thank you.
I moved on to her friends. This, by the way, is how I became so acquainted with the URL workings of FimFiction and FimFetch, leading to the realization and subsequent breakthrough in the Stockholm video that I'm still really proud of to this day. This
Who
really
cares
was
about
a-
any of this? Who fucking cares? None of this fucking matters. No, I don't give the background on the Lily Orchard series. I uncovered a pedophile that existed through Tumblr that I unfortunately propped up in one of my previous videos. We did a lot of research finding the information about this pedophile, and you can watch our series here. Vangelina plagiarized these things here, 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 here. That's it. That's all you need to do. Obviously, you flesh it out being like, this example, context of how they're plagiarizing, this example of plagiarizing, context of how it's plagiarizing, and you just run down the list. You don't need all of this. This is 6 minutes of we don't need this.
Gentlemen, we've got her. There was also the stuff in the background that nobody thinks about, especially when it comes to topics like these. I remember back in 2020, 2021, Lily Orchard began talking about adopting. We scrambled like fighter pilots to try and figure out if there was anyone at all, we could reach out to have Lily Orchard's name flash red to any adoption agency should she actually follow through. There was also the background care for Glade, who, again, was one of Lily's victims. I had to make sure that they felt...
I mean, okay, assuming this person is actually as bad as they say, really great that they tried to stop the adoption from happening. But like, what?
supported by me, whilst also ensuring
$9.99 from Chris the Narc. Imagine getting groomed and you make a YouTube channel to cope about it and plagiarism.
Okay, normal people don't turn around after being groomed and make a YouTube channel, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe I don't have personal experience as someone who has been groomed, but what?
their testimony remained as unadulterated as possible. I didn't want to give anyone the chance to say that I had coached them, because that can be crushing for a victim. That's a
You
hard...
would coach them? Yeah, it could be crushing. You coached them. Okay, here's something I've noticed, is that a lot of people who cover groomers.
$10 from Axis 1247. No easily atones that easily accessible publicly findable information because they found it and made a video first. Truly, video essayists are the Christopher Columbuses of videos.
Yeah, they hold exclusive rights over information they found freely on the internet. Exactly what Axel said. Okay. So something I've noticed with people who cover like the groomers or the pedos or any of that stuff, and I don't mean like people like me or like Diorio or Muda, right? People who just cover like drama and sometimes pedophiles show up in the discourse. I mean people who have like a gaming channel and then one day, or like a essay channel and then one day just do a coverage on a pedo, right? They do it because some personal experience in their life, they were a victim, right? Which is bad to say and you know sucks, but what they do is that they latch on to this new victim story and this new grooming story, and they use it as like a spiritual revenge to work with this victim to screw over the person who groomed them or sexually assaulted them or something, and either inadvertently or deliberately poison the well because they want to win. This is actually what part of, there's a lot of layers, but that's part of what happened with the Yandere dev stuff, right? Where Ali had personal history with both dev and like fucking like being a victim herself, and very much latched on to the idea of getting righteous vindication in this moment. I know I'm talking about a video that's not out yet, so unless you covered followed the drama from other coverage, you'd have no idea about this, but it should be out like this week or next week. So but the point is that you see a lot of that, right? Where these people who don't do this kind of stuff latch on or get lucky, or not lucky, but unlucky, and find a story like that, latch onto it for personal reasons and just keep on. And they end up putting themselves in too deep with it.
$10 from Cat was taken. Can we pretend that planes in the night sky are like shooting stars? I could really use a wish right now, wish right now, wish right now. Can we pretend that planes in the night sky are like shooting stars?
Yeah, I know. Can we pretend like yap planes are like yap stars?
Tightrope to walk, let me
Thank you, Cat.
tell you, especially when it comes to large issues like these. To give a specific example, I'm thoroughly anti-police, but was fully prepared to stand by Glade if he wanted to involve them, because the
What? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm fairly anti-police, but I would stand by the victim if they wanted to go to the police. What are you gonna do about it? Huh? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna grab a gun and go shoot the pedophile and enact vigilante justice? You fucking idiot. Like, I'm sorry. People, there's nothing wrong with being anti-police. I 100% get it. I don't feel safe around police officers myself, but like, what's the alternative? Run to Twitter? What a ridiculous statement to say. Oh yeah, I'm against police, but if the victim wants to go to police, they can go. Well, you're in the victim's ear. What do you mean? You're in the victim's ear. They're going to listen to you, and you're going to say, I'm anti-police. Guess what? They're never going to the fucking cops then about the person who groomed them. You moron.
victim's autonomy is paramount. So there was a lot going
You're the fucking main character of the story.
on that you didn't see. Now, the reason I'm going on about all the work that went into the series is to try and help you understand why plagiarism feels, in many ways, so violating. It's not like I snap my fingers 3 times, the stars align, the video arises from the bosom of my brain. There's a lot of work that goes into what I do. So to spend literal years of your life on a single project, only to have someone come along and present said work as their own, monetizing your hard work 4 different ways, it really is depressing. I get that I might not...
It is, I'm sorry, but it's news coverage. It's news coverage. If you have a breakout story, phenomenal, amazing. You did amazing work, and you should move on. But like, I'm sorry, I'm really hung up on the. I don't like police, but they can go to police thing. Like, what is the answer? We live in a society. Justice needs to be done. We can't just exact vigilante justice. I'm so fucking tired of people running to Twitter or running to social media to any it's stop. If you or your loved one ends up on the receiving end of a violent sex crime or violent crime, go to the police. Don't go to Twitter. Just ask for credit. Just ask for credit.
Seem the most impacted in this video. I'm probably cracking a few more jokes than usual, but that's not because it isn't bad. It's because I'm used to tackling people who want me dead because I'm trans.
Yeah, and people want me dead because I said Two Man was crazy before he died. Oh my god. I hate how it's like there are plenty of trans people in this audience, and it's just frustrating how Essence of Thought is portraying themselves as like the ultimate victim of circumstance. That's really fucking annoying. Cops don't always cut it, Diesel. Yeah, but we can't tell people to go to Twitter because Twitter doesn't cut it. Twitter's just a bunch of crazy people, okay?
So this is still an improvement.
The answer to sometimes police don't do their job is not let me just throw them to the wolves, okay? Because then that's how you end up with like ridiculous crazy people making false allegations and running wild with it.
But better than genocide isn't what I consider high praise. Suffice to say, when I discovered I'd been plagiarized, it did impact me, causing me to spiral. I burnt myself out at the end of last year, covering my personal trauma, only to need emergency dental work as I began feeling better.
Who cares? I hope all your teeth rot out and your fucking eyeballs turn to dust. You fucking crocodile lich.
Only to then break my foot. I haven't been able to find a suitable time to record anything I've been writing.
I don't know why I said crocodile lich. That has no bearing on anything. I don't want that clipped out of context of me being like some transmisia wizard.
As a result, I've been mentally punishing myself for not getting anything out. So to have someone come along and rip myself and Levi off, it fucking bricked me. It really did. I remember having to calm myself down before I approached Scout about the issue, hoping we could resolve things peacefully. Now, sadly, Scout didn't share my desire to have her fix things, and we'll get to exactly how she burnt me. But first, let's establish how I know, for a fact, that Scout stripped my series to make her own video. Starting with the hard data, the first thing I did when I realized I was being plagiarized was download Scout's video and begin cutting it up into sections. What I found was that a 30-minute section of her 38-minute video, starting from 2032, was ripped directly from mine, as shown in the clips raised
Okay, so now all you need to do is show a comparison. Prove me wrong right here.
the second higher track. Though, to clarify one thing, when I went through it again,
That's insensitive to crocodile liches, excuse me. I was just setting up the Western D&D thing before I went live, so I got like Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse on the brain, okay?
I did find 2 clips amounting to just over 1 minute 2 seconds that were her own original content. One being a 20-second remark about a book she read as a child, and another 40-second remark about Lily's writing tips, which, aside from as an introductory tool to the Inquos video, I had absolutely no interest in covering. I'll still refer to it as the 30-minute section, just know that I'm only claiming 12 minutes of it. Now, throughout that 30-minute section, Scout presents 8 screenshots, 8 pieces of visual evidence, which he then spends the remaining time talking about. And it's those 8 screenshots that allow me to confirm, without a shadow of a doubt, that they were ripped directly from my video. How? Well, I'm glad you asked. I will be using 3 data points to confirm that...
What Axis said. What Axis said. I mean, you know, what other way could I put it?
These screenshots were ripped directly from our video. The first, and perhaps weakest data point, is zoom factor and layout. That is to say, not all of the images I took were taken at the same level of zoom, and when you zoom in and out on a page...
Whoa. Pause. It's just screenshots that are available publicly through the internet? Zoom factor? Like, this is not... Did you have something that you received privately that you were the only sole owner of? Okay? Were you the original proprietor of those screenshots getting out there, right? Like, nobody had Illuminati's private Discord until I put it out there, okay? Somebody else could have, but they didn't. So I was the person who got them. This has nothing to do with anything Zoom factor. Either it was unavailable to the public before, or it was.
On Tumblr or Twitter, it doesn't merely pan in like a camera lens, every now and then it shifts things around. Take this example I grabbed whilst writing the script, taken from Stockholm Uberfan, The Last Alicorn. Here is the page at 100%, here is that same page at 175%, and here it is again at 200%. Notice how the layout of the page keeps changing. Therefore, if the layout of these 8 screenshots matches those seen in mine, that is conducive to the image.
That was public. You're stupid. You have no argument. Fucking stupid. Stupid. No 30% for you. Go fucking jerk off. Fuck off.
Having been ripped directly from our video, since if any of them didn't
this is publicly available data. I'm sorry. I don't need to source you at all.
Match, that'd throw the whole thing off. Though again, this is perhaps the weakest piece of data on its own.
Then why would you start with it, you fucking mongoloid? Don't you make video essays, you fucking idiot? Okay? Here's how you win an argument. You start with your strongest fucking point first. You do. You start out with your most damning point first, and then you get increasingly less important details. Because it helps. It helps people understand that you're winning, right? You want to be right out of the gate with the best punches, okay? You want to make sure that you're putting the best foot forward. So you put the strongest evidence for your argument out first. Okay? Jesus Christ.
The second data point, or perhaps points, are the backgrounds and profile pics being
Okay. I was sent a screenshot of Ethel talking about Rachel Oates. So you guys ever play like Disco Elysium? A very political game. This reads like a line from like your brain in Disco Elysium. All right. And Kat, yes, that is very good. Make sure to ping Joey. He could post that to Twitter. But this is April 2022. Hold on, let me zoom in. Let me increase the zoom factor. I'll do it into my best Disco Elysium impression, right? Of like that narrator voice. Trigger warning, self-harm at CSA. Something I need to be clear on this is the fact that Rachel Oates' weaponizing of self-harm, transmisogyny, and benevolent patriarchy was the second most psychologically destructive thing I have ever suffered. Only second. I'm sorry, I didn't read the whole tweet. I didn't read the whole tweet before reading that. And I didn't even notice that when somebody sent it to me, when Nani sent it to me. Holy shit. Oh, okay. Here. How do I make it so somebody can raid the channel? Because I can't. And I'm stupid. I need help now. Hold on. I think I need a managing mod to do it. Because I fucking don't know how. Because I'm stupid. Yeah, little guy's tech support, I need you now in my time. This is a time of need thing. I also don't know how to raid someone. This is brilliant. Kristen Ark, help Diesel. Yeah, all channels can redirect my content. Yeah. Hear from Nick. Yeah. Settings, community, live redirects. Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to do it because somebody DM'd me. There. Yeah, all channels should be able to redirect my content. L. Yeah, I was having technical difficulties. So real, Olivia. From the YouTube dashboard? Okay. All right. All right. We'll get him there eventually. Oh my god. Thank you, Nick. L, Diesel is boomer brain. Fuck you. Yeah. I had changed it to this is our break from the vid. To be frank, I kind of needed it. Frankly. I kind of needed it. Fuck. Diesel just like Joey's stream. I'm streaming still.
Used in any given screenshot. Lily Orchard has periodically updated both her background and her profile pic dozens of times over the last couple of years. That means if the background and profile pics throughout the screenshots match those seen in mine, that is further proof that the images have been ripped directly from our video. The third and final data point is a security feature personalized to me. As
Kinchi, thank you for becoming a big dog.
I'm sure you're aware by now, I am trans, and there is a safety tool out there, used by trans people, that changes the usernames and links
No, we're back to the video.
of users on certain sites based on whether they've been voted safe or dangerous to trans people. Do note it is a deeply flawed app. Not everyone green is in fact safe, as we'll see in a second, but it is handy to weed out the reds. Now, I say it's deeply flawed in who it marks green because, you guessed it, Lily Orchard is marked green by default, meaning that enough
Yeah, I have the
people
Lost comic tattooed on my arm. Thank you for noticing. That's the first time I've heard that one.
voted her safe to trans people at one point in time to earn a green rating. What's particularly interesting about this data point, however, is the fact that when I first began gathering evidence, I didn't think to manually mark Lily Orchard as unsafe, but that changed halfway through. After all, she did groom trans minors. Yet I only made the switch in the midst of gathering evidence, meaning certain images have Lily Orchard's name and other periphery details in green, whilst other images show her name in red. This means that, in order for Scov's screenshots to have the same color as mine, she'd have had to, through some cosmic coincidence, install the same app, which is visibly absent from screenshots used earlier in her video, and change it at the very same time I did, whilst gathering the evidence in the exact same order as me. Suffice to say, this data point is more than enough on its own.
Who gives a shit that this is publicly available fucking information and she took it from your video? Okay, pee pee poo poo. Like, do I really fucking care? Like, this is such a non-issue. This is a complete non-starter. Like, if we're talking about her just taking the video word for word and reproducing it, that's a completely other story. But we're talking about, like, screenshots in the video that don't even make up the whole video.
But I wanted to include the other two to really nail this.
I don't understand. You don't have like fucking finders keepers rights over just fucking screenshots that you find on the internet. Like, you don't have, like, no.
If I get a perfect match along all 3 points, that is as close to proof of non-verbatim plagiarism as you can really get, aside from my written confession, of course. So let's start with the first image that appears in Scov's video at 22:16, taken from our Inkros video as seen at 1:44. Let's overlay that using 50% transparency to reveal that yes, it's a 1-to-1 match on the zoom factor. Moving on next to the profile pic, since the background is not visible, we see Lily is sporting the exact same smug face on a purple background in both images. Lastly, looking at Lily Orchard's username, we see that it is highlighted in green in both images, making this a perfect match. Moving on to the second image, which appears in Scov's video at 25:36, this one was copied from our video containing Glazed testimony, as seen at 16:35. Let's overlay that, revealing again a 1-to-1 match on the zoom factor. Moving on to the background and profile pic, we see Lily is in her purple phase, and she is using the same image of her avatar on a light background, staring to one.
Massive Nick L. The thing is Nick should be able to rate me. I checked. Nick great part 2. Nick's sitting around trying to figure it the fuck out.
Side. Lastly, looking at the post date and number of notes, whilst not legible in Scov's copy, we can just about make out the red colouring, just like in the original, signalling that this was taken after I manually updated Lily's name on my end, once again making this a perfect.
I don't fucking. This is such a nothing burger. You literally wasted 8 minutes of my fucking time to tell me about how you had teeth problems and how your foot hurt, right? Now say, oh, well, she fucking took screenshots from my video. Screenshots that could have been available anywhere else on the internet. Like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Match. The third image, which appears in Scov's video at 23:39, was again copied from our video containing Glazed testimony.
Thanks for settling for us. I'm nobody's first pick. That's why I'm everybody's favorite second monitor creator. I understand you need somebody boring to fall asleep to, and I hope that I am plenty boring that you pass out.
As seen at 17:56. Let's overlay that, revealing again a 1-to-1 match on the zoom factor. Moving on to the background and profile pic, we see Lily was
We have to watch Nick live sub to both of your channels.
still in her paper phase so far as the background. Lastly,
Diesel, am I allowed to draw your goblin in a maid outfit? No, you absolutely can draw me in a maid outfit. Or my goblin. Well, he's also me, but you can do that.
looking at the post date, account name, note this is Lily's art profile, and number of notes, we see that this was taken before I manually updated Lily's name on my end, making this another perfect match. The fourth image, which appears in Scov's video at 26:29, was, again, copied from our video containing Glazed testimony, as seen at 22:55. However, it was also shown again in the video containing Mackenzie's testimony, including at 30:29, a fact that will be important when we take a look at how even the stuff said between the screenshots that Scov personally presents as her own original thoughts were copied directly from the personal thoughts of both myself and Levi regarding this very same piece of evidence. So I just wanted to
Diesel, am I allowed to draw you getting an education? You can do that too. Ethel tweeted, you can just say you don't like someone's content. You don't need to justify your preference. I kid you fucking not. Ethel's a mind of a genius. Let's be real here.
that quickly. Let's overlay that, revealing again a 1-to-1 match on the zoom factor. Moving on to the background and
If you say zoom factor one more time, I'm literally going to start jorking it on stream because this video is so boring. YouTube Drama said this is a good video. YouTube Drama has nothing to, like, they're fucking morons.
profile pic, we see Lily in her purple phase, and she is using the same image of her avatar on a light background, staring to one
Yeah,
side.
hi Ethel. Yeah, Ethel Packwatch, everybody. Ethel, when are you gonna stalk me?
We also see the number of notes in this one on Scow's copy is just about legible at 1 note, same as my own screenshot. Lastly, looking at the post date.
You know, Transmisia sounds like a Eastern European nation. Like I feel like Stradvan Zarovich comes from Transmisia. You know what I mean?
Number of notes and Lily's name, whilst difficult to read.
Ah, so Diesel, you're the supplier of this goblin short stack porn that has failed fellow intellectual Vosh Vidya. Okay, first of all, he was looking at Lolicon. I like it when they're short and thick, biteable women. Okay, big difference. Also, emphasis on women. That means delts.
On Scow's copy, we can clearly make out the red colouring, especially around Lily's name, just like in the original, signaling that this was taken after I manually updated Lily's name on my end, once again, making this a perfect match. The fifth image, which appears in Scow's video at 28:15, was copied from my video debunking Lily Orchard's child.
But the screenshot looks different. Like, I mean, I understand, like, oh, it looks vaguely similar, but it could also be a different one as well.
The image, which appears in Scow's video at 28:15, was copied from my video debunking Lily Orchard's child predator arguments, as seen at 2:16.
Diesel, did you see the pinned comment on this video? No. Something else I wanted to add, which I didn't think of until just now, is that taking my insights without credit is extremely insulting to me as a disabled person. Who is this? Taking my insights without credit is extremely insulting to me as a disabled person. Wait, why does what does your disability have anything to do with your opinion? What? I'm confused. What does that have to do with anything? Yes, stream. We're just gonna have a group goon. Okay, we're just all gonna be edging. I'm edging right now. You can't see it, but I have one of those. It's like I have like a vacuum hose attached to my cock. I do just be saying things. Is Diesel also a werewolf? I think I'm more of a vampire than a werewolf, personally. But somebody said my vampire thirst traps made me look like an orc. But you know what? I'll take that because I'm greenskin pilled. Okay, anyway, the point of the matter here is, before I start talking about how hot I am, what does this person's disability have anything to do with them giving insights? I have a lot of debilitating mental health problems from the abuse and neglect I went through. Not only that, but last year I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism after being incapacitated by brain fog. Is this a parody? Is this a joke? Is this a joke? Because this sounds like a joke. Because this person is like, I don't know, like, I got hit by a train and I got brain fog. It sounds familiar to those who have been following my work that because of this hypothyroidism has been impacting me for years, possibly my entire adult life, though it's impossible due to the gradual nature of the disease. Basically, a huge part of the production hell was that it was extremely difficult for me to contribute. It was more difficult and took much longer for me to give significantly less than a healthy person could. Stealing a handful of insights from a disabled creator can, depending on the type of the extent of their disability, be equivalent to stealing an entire finished piece or more from a healthy creator in terms of amount of time, energy, and effort. This is, like, first of all, an insane, like, false equivalency. And then on top of that, how, like, let's say Vangelina did, like, steal this work, this piece of art from these people. I disagree. But then, like, on top of that, like, the way you're talking about it, you're talking about it as if somehow Vangelina knew you were disabled and then deliberately went out of her way to rob you because you're the disabled person. Yeah, I was gonna say they had a thyroid problem, so you got fat. Like, yeah, I was gonna say, in a way, they're saying disabled does make you lesser. Like, that's. By the way, for anyone who is worried, I wanted to be clear. that I've been on thyroxine for several months now, and I am close to, if not fully recovered. On that note, I encourage you to read about the symptoms of both hypo and hyperthyroidism, that is, over and underactive thyroid, and tell your loved ones to do the same. Hopefully you can catch any thyroid issues sooner than I did. What does any of this mean?
Let's overlay that, revealing again a 1-to-1 match on the zoom factor. Moving
A
on
1-to-1 match on a zoom factor, guys.
to the background and profile pics, we not only see Lily in her purple phase, but this time has her bisexual profile pic, as seen at the bottom of the notes. Speaking of notes, there are 6 other notes visible in Scov's copy, all of them containing the exact same profile pic and username as seen in my original, whilst also appearing in the exact same order. Lastly, looking at the post date, number of notes, and Lily's name, whilst difficult to read in Scov's copy, we can clearly make out the red colouring, especially around Lily's name, just like in the original, again, signalling that this was taken after I manually updated Lily's name on my end, once again, making this a perfect match. The 6th image, which appears in Scov's video...
None of this matters. None of this matters. This is all publicly available information. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
at 2818.
Yeah, how many times are we gonna... Is this really gonna be it? Don't tell me that this is the entirety of, like, the evidence.
Was taken from the same video as before, as seen at 222. Let's overlay that, revealing again a 1-to-1 match on the zoom factor. Moving on to the background and profile pics, whilst we can't see Lily's profile pic in this image, what we can see are the purple background along with 6 individuals in the notes, all sporting the exact same profile pictures as the ones in my original image, all in the exact same order. Lastly, looking at the post date and number of notes, whilst difficult to read in Scov's copy, we can still make out the red colouring, just like in the original, again signalling that this was taken after I manually updated Lily's name on my end, once again making this a perfect match. The 7th image, which appears in Scov's video at 2842, was taken from the same video as before, as seen at 1908. Let's overlay that, revealing again a 1-to-1 match on the zoom factor. Moving on to the background and profile pics, of course this is Twitter, yet we do see the same profile pic in both Scov's copy and my original. Lastly, looking at Lily's username and tag, we can clearly make out the red colouring, just like the original.
So, like, let's say, alright, here's the theory, haven't seen Vangelina's video. Let's say, hypothetically, these screenshots were grabbed and placed onto an image board. Now, I'm not naming names, but there is a particular drama image board who would love the pack watch an individual such as Lillian. Hypothetically speaking, one could go on there and get such things, as this community may or may not A-log those things. Just saying, that's a possibility. I don't know why, but I keep remembering in the back of my head that there was a certain forum related to a fruit that may or may not have been brought up in this discussion. I can't remember, but I'm just saying that's a possibility.
Signaling that this was taken after I manually updated Lily's name on my end, once again making this a perfect match. Bringing us to the 8th and final image, which appears in Scov's video at 3317 and was taken from our Stockholm video as seen at 1605.
Could it be related to a round brown bird? That's true. That's true.
Let's overlay that, revealing, surprise surprise, a 1-to-1 match on the zoom factor. Moving on to profile pic.
Use zoom factor.
We see Lily has her bisexual avatar. Lastly, looking at Lily's username, we can clearly make out the red colouring, just like the original, signalling for one final time that this was taken after I manually updated Lily's name on my end, once again, making this a perfect match. So that's 8 for 8, perfect matches on all images along these 3 data points, including one which was personally tailored to my own preferences. That is confirmation that these images were ripped directly from my video. Another data point that...
boo-hoo. I'm stealing the bread right from the artist's mouth.
The keen-eyed amongst you might have noticed is that every single image, and indeed the very layout of this 13-minute section, follows the exact same order as our series. I was in a lot of distress when I first realised we'd been plagiarised, so Levi jumped in to grab the timestamps in Scov's video along with my originals, once again proving that he is the best bird a girl could ask for. And he was the one who noticed that he didn't have to jump between videos to do so.
Oh my god, my hypothyroidism made it so hard to work but I could also sit down and write comprehensive notes on the person that plagiarized my work in the past.
Scov had not only ripped the evidence straight from our videos without crediting, she didn't even bother to change their order, instead going through the evidence
I did hear about Medicare's community posts. Of course I did. Come on.
exactly as we did. Which is interesting, considering we didn't work through said evidence in chronological order.
I can't believe Vangelina even apologized to this absolute cretin of a human being.
As evidence in how the safety feature in the screenshots jumped from green to red to green again. Yet Scov would like you, along with her audience and patrons, to think that she came up with all of this on her own. That it's just a coincidence that the screenshots are identical to mine on several distinct data points.
Guys, I came up with these screenshots. I invented the evidence. Oh wait, no, that's not what I was trying to say.
Including a personalized safety feature and the order in which they are discussed. I think the technical term used to describe such a phenomenon in statistics is absolute fucking bollocks. Scov is not only taking me for a fool, but her own audience as such in how she genuinely thinks that she can get away with this. So, if you're a fan of hers, especially if you're someone who donates to her Patreon, are you going to prove her right? Or are you going to have some damn self-respect? Another thing
boo-hoo, fuck you. Fuck you. Don't you have some... Nope. I was gonna compare her to the old aunt of Cinderella, but I won't be that mean.
What irks me about this is just how lazy the strip mining was. One thing you might have noticed is that Scov's screenshots are completely out of focus, with the secondary text on many of them being illegible.
Funny enough, the farms have been A-logging Lily since 2018, a full 2 years before EOT did a video in 2020. Oh wow, what a fucking surprise.
Yet, my own copies of my screenshots aren't, in spite of those screenshots having been grabbed from the very same rendered video. I didn't go back to the editing file as that'd be more hassle than it's worth. The reason my own copies are so much better is because I use an in-program snapshot feature. With Scov, I am almost certain that she didn't even bother to download my videos and take what she wanted that way. I think she just took screenshots whilst watching our videos before trimming them down. That's how little respect she has for the work she stole. Another example of her late...
Like, you're making a judgment call there. Like, that's an absolute judgment call. You literally just are assuming that, right? Like, the implication is that she's doing it deliberately because she wants to disrespect you, but you're just assuming that. Like, you're making this up in your head. You're imagining a version of Vangelina that may or may not exist.
Laziness can be seen in the fact that I literally reference everything I can, passing most of it through the Internet Archive, meaning that had she wanted to, she could have opened them herself and taken the screenshot at whatever zoom level she liked, without the security feature.
Okay, yeah, she could have taken okay, hypothetically speaking, she could have taken it at whatever zoom level she wanted. Hypothetically speaking, then, would she still be plagiarizing you? Because I don't really think either of those would count. Like, would that also count as plagiarizing? Because it would be the same exact thing.
And it would have made proving her plagiarism difficult, if not impossible. But she didn't.
If not you still would have, let's be real. You would have assumed, oh, she also did a video on somebody I covered, and assumed it was fucking...
The entire point of plagiarism is to avoid doing the work by stealing from others. It reveals
kind of feels like they're dancing around Vangelina is transphobic. No, they think that Vangelina is an Irish transmisc wizard. So, transmiscaline. Mescaline. What up, Leia?
Disdain towards everything Scov presents to her own audience as her original work worthy of their money. What Scov has done here, as proven thus far, is effectively go into a research paper, ripping out all the data tables along with the graphs, charts and diagrams before presenting them as her own in a paper she has written, whilst expecting to be paid for it, not just in AdSense and Patreon, but also through a sponsor, HelloFresh, not to mention merchandise. That alone is plagiarism, is fraud, is...
So, wait. Because she used screenshots readily available on the public internet, it's fraud? You're making some outrageous things. And let's just be clear here. You're saying is fraud. You're not saying, in my opinion. You're saying is fraud. Okay? Like, do you want to go down this road? Ethel? Shouldn't you be working the old butter churn on some farm in Pennsylvania with your husband with the weird fucking beard?
Theft. But it gets even worse when we actually take a look at the stuff she says between the evidence. Because we find out that she's stolen more than just the evidence provided throughout our series. She's attempted to claim mine and Levi's personal thoughts as her own. Starting with what is perhaps the clearest example of this, the same moment that hit me like a brick.
Here's how this could all turn around, right? If Ethel said something and Vangelina said something, and that something is completely identical, right? That opinion that they give is completely identical. Now, obviously, I'm pretty certain if we're covering a pedophile, we're all going to come to the same conclusion that a pedophile is bad and that what they did is bad.
Namely, this little nugget taken from just after
Who
Scout
chooses the name? I can't get over the name Ethel. I'm sorry. Ethel is a stinky name. I would not want to be named Ethel. I would change my name. Okay.
shares the screenshot in which Lily presents herself as a safe way for young people to explore their sexuality by sending her nudes.
But the first thing that popped into my brain was, what if she just asked herself this question so that she could answer it and get people to send her these photos of themselves? And how is she going to vet that the people who are sending them are adults?
Oh, it just popped into your head? Really? You had that thought?
What do you mean? That's not an outrageous thought or conclusion to come to.
So it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that, in our video containing Mackenzie's testimony,
Like, there's no way to guarantee the age of these individuals yet. Like, that's an obvious opinion to come to. That's probably one of the first.
I quite literally say the following. Now,
Yeah, I've never met a young Ethel before.
I don't know if these messages are sent in by a particularly fervent Lily Orchard fan, or if she's sending these herself, within minutes of providing the exact same piece of evidence. Like, yeah, I go into greater detail about a couple more
Wait a
minutes
second.
are sent
That wasn't
in by
identical.
a particularly fervent Lily Orchard fan, or if she's sending these herself, within minutes of providing the exact same piece of evidence. Like, yeah, I go into greater detail about a couple more pieces since I was covering a broader point. But like, you can see me discussing the evidence and the bit I just played you
All you needed to do was play 2 clips back to back and you couldn't fucking do that?
on the same page in my script. They're not exactly disconnected points. As for the idea that she thought of this from a single screenshot, is
Ethel is the name of old people in hospice.
actually reasonable to come up with that.
Ethel's actually recording this from hospice right now. Okay? Her foot problems, fatal. She's not making it out. Okay? She died making this video, guys.
If you have no prior knowledge about Lily Orchard and how she runs her community. I'd argue not. Like, there's a reason I presented a bunch of evidence showing how, anytime there's a controversy surrounding Lily, she always gets sent softball questions anonymously which allow her to reframe the issue however she pleases. No one would believe it if it wasn't a pattern. So the comment was made in a very specific context, leading it to come out of left field without it. Add that to the fact that, as demonstrated
Ethel is short for ethylene dioxymethamphetamine.
earlier, Scout or someone on Scout's team almost certainly watched our videos to strip mine them for screenshots, and I would argue that this is very strong evidence of her not only stealing our hard work, but our very thoughts, presenting them as her own original ideas. Like, she explicitly states that this popped into her brain, rather than she heard it from someone else and it stuck with her.
She could have came to the same conclusion. Fucking, she covers drama all the time. Okay? It's not like we're all thinking of earth-shattering opinions. I don't think it's surprising that most of the commentary community agrees with each other on drama. 1, they talk about drama all day, so they're pretty well versed in it. 2, most everybody has a pattern of behavior. It's just how things go. People are creatures of habit, lady. I'm sorry.
This was the moment I knew I was going to have to act. I even make the same point as her second question, the one asking,
And how is she going to vet that the people who are sending them are adults?
This one comes from the Glade video in which I said the following. Lily has confessed that people in her audience regularly send her naked photos of themselves. And while she claims to delete them all, there's no fucking way to check that. This is the same person who went out of her way.
That wasn't the same opinion. Let's be, not to be pedantic, but since you want to play at the pedantic Olympics, I'm going to tell you that wasn't identical to what Vangelina said, you fucking pedantic Andy.
To violate the security of the Safe for Work section she set up on her server. How can we be sure she doesn't keep them, and how the living fuck can we be certain that none of the minors she has groomed have fallen victim to this? Yet the shit show continues. For whilst I reached the following conclusion in my own video on Stockholm, said narrative...
Literally, Vangelina just said the same thing, but in a more condensed, better fashion. Honestly, if anything, Vangelina's just better at presenting information than you. Sorry.
...is carried over into Chapter 23, Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. Twilight's abuse is given a pardon by a professional because it's apparently what essentially has come to expect from life, and she should therefore keep indulging in it. Sweetie Belle is further punished for the actions of a child predator, and the fanfic ends with a very ham-fisted letter by Twilight to Princess Celestia, closing with, "I've learned, I think we all have, that to truly be with someone, you have to take the good with the bad. Don't be a fair-weather friend. Take the one you love at their best and worst, or not at all. Your former student, Twilight Sparkle." Now, if you've watched the MLP series, you know that Twilight's letters are the summary of whichever moral lesson has been learnt throughout the episode. Considering this alongside Shy's own feelings in the previous chapter, and the overall message of Lee's fanfic
Oh my
is
god,
laid out quite...
this drama requires me to understand My Little Pony lore, guys. Oh my god.
literally in black and white. To report someone who has sexually assaulted a minor makes you a fair-weather friend. That is Lee's main moral lesson to the reader, that you should enable someone who abuses children. That gets taken, reheated, and slopped onto a plate as...
And one character in this essays a minor. One of the friends in the story reports the person who does that, and for some reason, the whole lesson of the story is that this makes the person who did the reporting a bad friend.
I especially love how she changed fair-weather friend, like...
Diesel, let me and Nicole, I'll explain the entire lore of My Little Pony.
like in the actual letter, to bad friend. It's very, can I copy
Is
your
there a
home...
Goblin My Little Pony fanfic? There's not much overlap between the MLP and Goblins communities, okay?
work? Sure, just change a few words. Except, you know, I was not asked in any way. Scov just straight up stole my analysis and presented it as her own. We also see something similar in her editing of the video.
I'm sorry, what was the other opinion she was supposed to come to? Was she supposed to be like, actually, Lily Orchard was based in a red pill, like...
in which Lee admitted to writing Stockholm, for whilst I repeated that specific sentence...
When I started this series, I had every intention on doing something special for Halloween, and nothing could be better than taking a truly bizarre and messed up fanfic and picking through it like an amphetamine-fueled chimp. But which one? There's so many. Fallout Equestria? That's too long. Fall of Equestria? No. Equestrian Pony Meat Business? I think I'll break my rating limits. Can't do Stockholm, I wrote that one. But then I thought, what about that one, Jerry? The one that started this whole trend of grimdark fanfiction. Can't do Stockholm, I wrote that.
There's like a humongous amount of grimdark MLP fanfiction, if you guys didn't know. I'm actually I'm not a brony, but I am pretty well versed. I've watched the show before. And it's a humongous contingent of the community that makes grimdark pony fanfictions that are like super fucked up horror stories and shit like that. Really interesting dichotomy of how adults interact with the fandom, but I mean, that has nothing to do with anything, but I have no idea what's happening anymore.
That one. Can't do Stockholm, I wrote that one. Can't do Stockholm, I wrote that one.
Scov goes ahead and slows it down.
Fallout Equestria? That's too long. Fall of Equestria? No. Equestrian Pony Meat Business? I think I'll break my rating limits. Can't do Stockholm, I wrote that one.
Now, to be fair, this particular piece of evidence is weak on its own. It's not exactly a hard thing to come up with. But when taken in the entire context of how everything else...
Why do you know this? I used to... So I've always had to... Me personally, I've always wanted to make like Vice documentaries. I wanted to be a war reporter at a time in the past, believe it or not. And then I got really interested in internet anthropology, so the study of cultures and people that have developed in the age of the internet. So I found bronies really interesting. I found furries really interesting, and I have like pages upon pages of research on furries. And then I just never did the documentary. So yeah.
Copied, it does hint to a fundamental lack of imagination. though Scov was at least smart enough to download a clean copy of the video from somewhere else, as the timecode isn't present in her video. The one
not like, you know, Pack Watch, oh, look at all these funny cringe lords, like an actual, like, I was interested from, like, the academic standpoint of it, because, you know, like, BronyCon doesn't happen anymore. These cultures will fade into obscurity with no, like, recordings of them, right? Like, a whole culture of things and people just gone like that. And it might be weird or cringe or strange, but the idea that something so big like BronyCon would just fade into obscurity is really astounding, because it was such a large piece of that community, and as well as the internet's cultural zeitgeist at a time. So the fact that it all just vanished, and yeah, it became like a lost city. Exactly.
Now having been added to show where the offending clip is in her video. Returning to something a little stronger, here's my comment about the way in which Lily has avoided having her YouTube channel
So you're
closed
a
down.
furry archiver? I don't know if I'd say it like that. I find it just interesting, right? How people express themselves and live. And furries are a really interesting case. You can get me talking about this forever. I've always been interested in, like, anthropology and, like, how people live as, like, a subject. I took a lot of, like, they make you take a lot of antiquity classes in college, but I also went out of my way to take a lot of anthropology based classes, religion, stuff like that. You know, classic Western culture, which is more like Greece and all that stuff as well. But you know, in a day and age where we've moved past the idea. Okay, stay with me a little bit, because I'm gonna start waxing a little poetic. You know, like this is meme to hell, right? But Friedrich Nietzsche, stay with me. I laugh at it too, right? But when you are in a society that's like post focusing on a religious cultural context, and people gather around that specific thing, they need a new thing. They need a new thing to associate with, and people started to gather together on the internet because they lost that third place, right? So the third place is like your church. Third place could be like the bar with your friends, could be the gym. A lot of people don't have a third place. So that third place now becomes a Discord server, a community online, right? They need something to gather around and have a common thing about them, right? We're getting Nietzsche in My Little Pony lore. Right? So they need something to gather around. And for furries in particular, right? For furries in particular, the community since the 70s, which is how old, about the 70s, the community since the 70s had been an enclave for LGBTQ artists, right? Because expressing that part of your sexuality wasn't really like expected, that, right? That wouldn't be something, and they're nerdy people. So this kind of developed around that, right? Where they would gather together, and the reasoning for the animal anthropomorphized animals comes because a lot of the progenitors of the community were artists, comic artists, and they were the original proprietors of the community in the 70s. You know, a lot of those people would go on to write and make a lot of the golden age stuff that you guys probably would have experienced as children, or even more artistic stuff, like Felix the Cat, you know, like that R-rated cat, right? So they would gather in these small communities where they would swap comics about their anthropomorphic characters, right? And even more so than that, we have been anthropomorphizing animals since, I mean, you know, the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? So we've been doing it for a long time, and this is a modern incarnation of that exact thing. So slowly over time, it built up through this underground community of comic artists making these either smutty or erotic fiction about anthropomorphized animals. And a lot of them couldn't express their sexuality of being gay, bisexual, or trans. And so they would express that using the characters that they created and put into these comics. So they would share these comics with each other. And personally, for a lot of these artists, it was an expression of their ostracized sexual identity at the time. But even more so than that, it helped them feel safe in expressing identities that weren't considered culturally acceptable at the time. So while there are examples of furries having sexual connotations in the beginning of the community, I would personally argue that the community itself isn't based upon sex, but things like sexual identity or how you present yourself, like being female presenting, male presenting. That was an aspect of it, to have a safe and inclusive community to do that thing, right? And from there, we got a lot of amazing people in terms of artists, and one in particular is, and I know this guy got mocked in Your Movie Sucks' Kimba video, right? But the guy who wrote about how Kimba and the Lion King were the same, he actually has a huge lexicon of writing, and he is one of the progenitors of, one, bringing anime to the West, but two, also being a person who was one of the first ever anime researchers ever. And a lot of his work is seminal to the media criticism and contemporary studies on anime in a cultural context in like academia, right? Anyway, that's like really fucking like super academic talk about that. But just to, I don't like, you know, this is a project that'll just always sit on the back burner until I grow old, right? And Your Movie Sucks is also a furry. Yeah, in that aspect, that writer about that researcher who covered Kimba was wrong. But he is much larger than just that one thing. He was very important to the birth of that subculture and community, right? But the furry community blew up in the early 2000s with the advent of image boards and forums where these people from all these disparate communities were able to come together, right? Because originally it would just spread through word of mouth and be in like the back halls of conventions and stuff like that. So that's how it reached like a cultural zenith. And I'd argue we're kind of past the cultural zenith of furries. It was probably a couple of years ago, probably like 2013, 2012. But especially I do find it interesting that as more LGBTQ things and trans issues become more mainstream, we've kind of started to see less furries around, in my opinion at least, right? But I thought only a second channel editor was a furry. No, Your Movie Sucks is a furry. But yeah, that's like all that's enough of me talking about that's enough about me talking about this. This is like, that was a great summary on US furry history, IMO. No notes other than furries are also intersected heavily with fans of comic and horror, and those also provided context. Exactly. There's a huge, it comes from this time when the you know, it was like in the 60s there was this push for very safe, sanitized comics because it was read by children, right? That was the idea. So the Comics Rating Commission was like, no. You can't put saucy things in our comics. And so a back end industry of more adult oriented comics with darker themes were developing in the background of that community. And from that, that's how the furries ended up coming in the 70s. Because in the 60s and 50s, Silver Age comics, you weren't allowed to put any of these sexy things in there, right? Because, oh, kids could see it, right? Even though kids wouldn't end up getting a lot of these things anyway. But Yeah, so that's how it started. I mean, in a way, those laws about comics needing to be a certain way probably did contribute to the birth of the furry community in a small way, right? Vid so bad, we learned a good amount of furry lore. Well, back then there wasn't an incentive to draw adult stuff because you could get blacklisted from the comics industry, right? So Shrimp in Business, that's also another reason that a lot of them had anthropomorphic characters. Those were pen names. Those would protect their identity from losing their day jobs, working as artists, right? So there. That's enough of that. I'm sorry. I am genuinely interested in the subject, right? As like a outsider academic type thing, right? I read a book. It's called The Sacred Pipe. And now you're gonna be like, Diesel, you've lost your fucking mind. But The Sacred Pipe is a collection of stories from an anthropologist who spent time with the Great Plains Indians, and he cataloged a large majority of some of their most important and interesting stories. I think by a guy named Black Elk, right? And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, there's kind of still communities like that today, but we just don't really take an interest in these things the way we used to. It's just hobbies. It's just something you do, right? But for a lot of people, this is their social outlet. It's their like their self-expression. It's who they are as a person. You've made it interesting for me, and now I need know a lot more. Maybe in the future one day. I think that's something I get to do when I'm very successful, not when I'm 26 and broke. But yeah. Ethel yaps so hard, Diesel hitting the sacred pipe. I know, tell me about it, bro. We do gotta get back to this video. I want to finish this before I stop streaming. But fuck me, Ethel's just sucks. Okay, so Chad, I want you to notice how quiet I was just bitching about Ethel versus how much I haven't shut the fuck up about this thing. So that's how you can tell I'm actually interested in this and not interested in what Ethel has to say. 26 and woke. I don't even know if I'd say I'm woke. I mean, I think, love who you love, do what you want, fuck who you want to fuck. As long as it's legal and consensual, I don't really care. I think the main thing is just to be a good person, really. Furries have a lot, or My Little Pony has a lot of the same thing, but that's like a millennial thing. And I think a lot of it comes from. Okay, so there was a study done on bronies. And the psychologists hypothesized that 25% of the brony community is associated with sexual things, which means a majority of the brony community don't associate it with something sexual, right? And the thing that's interesting about bronies is where it came from, because My Little Pony wasn't popular before the Friendship is Magic TV show that came out in the 2000s. It had existed since the 80s, but the prior series didn't really garner the same affection, right? And what happened, and this is just a theory, so stick with me here. I have no proof of this whatsoever. The formative years for millennials would have been the War on Terror and 9/11. Hold on. Stick with me, right? So people always ask, why do so many millennials seem to find solace in kids' media? And I think that's probably because a lot of their formative years were taken up by the rally around the flag, national fervor of 9/11. I know I would call myself a zillennial, right? I was born in 98. I probably associate more with Zoomers, right? But I think for a lot of millennials, that tragedy stuck with them so heavily that a lot of them, and a lot of the boomer parents don't seem to really use it. A lot of boomer parents don't mentally walk their kids through a lot, right? So I think a lot of millennials gravitate towards kids' media because they're coping and recovering from a lot of that generational trauma, right? It's kind of like asking why salarymen in Japan like idol girl anime, right? So, on one hand, I don't really think there's a problem with enjoying and engaging in kids media. I think some people get a little ridiculous about hating on it. Um, because kids media doesn't mean bad, and we should champion for good kids media. Yeah, I should have been watching Blue's Clues, but instead I was watching motherfuckers do swan dives off the Twin Towers, my first day, I was 3 years old when 9/11 happened, and they put us in a bunker because they thought, oh, World War III is happening or something crazy like that. I ended up going on a bus back home. It was my first day of school, and so I go home, and I'm sitting in the living room, and we had a big TV. Or it was big because I was little, right? And here I am on a big box TV, and I'm watching the second tower get hit by a plane. And I'm watching the nonstop news coverage. And my family is from New York. So I had family down there, right? I didn't know what was happening, but I saw this on TV, right? And I think that's why a lot of people gravitated towards Friendship is Magic, in my opinion, right? I was born a few months before 9/11. Thank God I didn't have to be conscious for that. One of my first memories is 9/11. Literally one of my first memories is 9/11. I don't remember much of being 3 years old. I remember pissing in a bush, but I do remember watching 9/11. Okay, on the television. I was with my grandmother when it happened because she would drive up from the city to watch me because my mom had to work late. So, but yeah. I'm 28 and I don't remember. I do. I do. It was like a very vivid, like a dream, right? I remember the images. Fluttershy, they hit the second tower. What is it? Discord? Discord has hit Princess Celestia's castle. Anyway, that's why I think a lot of millennials gravitate towards that, right? And one of my professors is a professor of TV academia, and he posits a theory in his book. And he apparently gets mocked in his industry for this. But he posits that a lot of the comedy television that came out post 9/11 was a coping mechanism for dealing with the trauma of that tragedy, right? I don't think you guys realize how big of a deal 9/11 was in terms of the media landscape, right? This is like the first nationally televised tragedy ever. I mean, even in the time of like JFK, you would have heard about it in the paper or in the nightly news, right? Maybe you would have heard the president was shot when it happened, but there wasn't constant 24-hour replays of that tragedy, right? So he posits that shows like Family Guy and other shows that made light of these tragedies, right, were being used as a way to deal with the trauma of these, with trauma, not trauma as in like I have trauma from things that happen to me, but like trauma and like the national trauma, like how a culture deals with something after it happens kind of trauma, right? Are you kidding me? 9/11 ruined country music. Right. So when a guy like Seth MacFarlane is writing about 9/11 as a joke, it's him trying to express, and not him like specifically, but like the national tragedy and feeling of dealing with that, right? To get over that trauma, um, because tragedy became an entirely different story in a 24-hour news cycle, right? I mean, think about it now. Think about how many jokes you have about school shootings, about national tragedies, about bad stuff happening, about wars, about genocides, all the time, right? Because we're constantly inundated with it. Yeah, Seth MacFarlane was also supposed to be on the plane. Yes, yes. Is there a way we can spin this into getting Matt Pitt to watch a ridiculous amount of MLP in efforts to write a script? I would definitely write that script myself. I constantly hear about how 9/11 changed the world from people older than me. Yeah, well, okay, so after... I'm sorry, this is such a fucking like left field conversation that we're doing right now. Um, so after after the Berlin Wall fell and communist Russia, the USSR, collapsed, the great game was over, right? The global era of peace had begun, right? There was this small sliver of time in Western history where they believed, oh, it's over. We won. The US won. The USSR is going to become a democracy. All the enemies are gone. We win. It's over. History is over, right? This was the start of prosperity forever. And there was, for a time. And then some things started happening. But they were in faraway places. They were small countries, right? They were in faraway places like Bosnia, Yugoslavia. You don't know where those places are. You know, all these ex-Soviet enclaves are being attacked by Russia. But it wasn't really the same thing, right? There was talk of a little iffy on this talk, because it's being used in like a political context with the Russo-Ukraine war. But you know, oh, maybe Russia becomes a part of NATO. Maybe this happens. Maybe that happens. The idea of peace and prosperity. Think about how much technological process was going on from the 90s to the 2000s. And then all of a sudden, the Twin Towers get hit. All of a sudden, George Bush is there on television saying that we're going to war with an enemy that is completely different. They're not a nation. It's a bunch of guys in a cave. They could be down the street from you. They could be any of us. They could be anything. They're out there. We don't know where. That changed things. Okay? Because America was seen as impossible to damage. Right? And that was a huge blow. Hey, Yugoslavia was not the USSR. They were just loomed over 24/7 for years, and kind of like Belarus today. I mean, well, I would argue that Belarus is a puppet state of the Russian Federation, but, you know, mea culpa, right? But for older people, and if you're a younger person in the audience, you got to realize that, yeah, it was a humongous deal when 9/11 happened. It was a humongous deal. It significantly changed how you would be nationalist about your own country. Fucking, like, it changed a lot, dude. Right? It told Americans, not only is the great game not done, now the great game is something else. Right? And now, and I think for a lot of people, when the Russo-Ukraine war happened, we realized, well, not only is the great game not done, it never ended. Okay? Those Americans waking up to the fact that they can't be isolationists. They need to be playing a part in a global game. Otherwise, other people are going to take advantage of them. There's a reason that we have all these trade deals, like a get in with America pact to, you know, have trade with us, to do whatever, right? Nationalism felt mandatory. Well, there's a thing that happens when a nation is attacked. It's called the rally around the flag effect. When a nation is attacked, the approval rating for the president skyrockets. The nationalist feel of a country skyrockets, right? Because the nation was attacked. Your nation was attacked, right? So that's something that they talk about in geopolitics and political science study. But Hiroshima plus Nagasaki equals anime. 9/11 in the Iraq War. MLP, choose your choice. Oh. Yeah, another thing that I'm super autistic for is geopolitics and political science, and not in like the Hassan way where I have no idea what's going on. I like read a lot about it. And I'm very interested in how nations play the great game. The great game of, nation states vying for power and trade, and why somebody getting wheat in Africa is actually important to you as an American because it helps stabilize the region that you get oil and fertilizer from, that helps feed your family here in the States, right? America's mostly self-sufficient, though. They could handle being completely isolated, but that's, pee pee poo poo. Well, a bunch of after 9/11, Scarlet Wolfie, right? Okay, so you might have heard of NATO recently, right? So there's a thing in NATO called Article 5. So from what I remember, the United States invoked Article 5 after 9/11. But some of NATO was like, yo, bro, it's not really a country. I don't know if we're going to war. But a coalition of NATO member states did end up agreeing, Canada being one of them. So, wait, I just got hit by lightning. That would mean that the world tragedy of the pandemic created the dream SMP fandom. Okay, this does not always mean that a tragedy creates a community that people gravitate towards. But I understand that my theory would kind of preclude that as being in it. I'm glad Chad is super America pills right now. We're super Eagle Core. Interesting. Yes. Oh, shit. COVID created dream. I think a lot of the parasocial nature that you see in teenagers comes from one, a want to be accepted, two, to find a place of belonging, three, a lack of appropriate levels of socialization. I think it's not surprising that we have things like idol culture in Japan and K-pop culture in Korea in nations that have outrageously high loneliness rates and outrageously like low rates of birth and all of that stuff. So maybe the Western equivalent is something like the Dream SMP fandom. I don't know if it is, but I could see that argument being made, right? But yeah, that was before the pandemic. But I do think there is a greater macro issue of people not being socialized enough because they lack a third place, right? And that third place, there's a book called Bowling Alone. In the 1950s, I am so sorry. This is like really fucking autistic. This is super autistic conversation we're having right now. In the 1950s, America started the Suburbs Project, which is their way of zoning and building a world, basically, right? This separated people quite a lot. Be honest with me, Diesel. Do you ever think it'll get better? I think it will. I think if you're an American, you're going to do fine. If you're a European, I don't know about that. But I can't make an overarching prediction of the world. I think this next decade is going to be pretty crazy. I think the next one's going to be just as crazy. I would not be surprised if we see more nation states go to war with each other. But you know, I wouldn't be worried. I don't think you're gonna get drafted. I don't think the world's gonna end, and I do think we're not immediately gonna hop into nuclear war in the next 10 minutes. Okay. Neither of the two major nuclear powers want that as much as they are at odds ends. But can we hold hands through it all? Of course, Cloudy. Diesel, when do I buy a house? You should have bought one in 2008 during the housing crisis. Okay, so anyway, when I talk about the third place, it's like your home, your job, and then the third place, right? When America separated itself via new zoning and suburbs in the 1950s, very slowly but surely, people started to separate more and more. And as a result of that, they lost the third place. So you couldn't walk to your town pub anymore. You can't walk to your town pub. Now you need to take a cab or you need to drive. Driving while drunk is illegal, so now you take a cab. But taking a cab is a lot of work. So you don't go out to the bar anymore, right? So you don't go out to the bar anymore. Let's see. You don't really have a place to hang out with your homies. You don't really have homies anymore. You'll have work, families, no third place anymore. And that has contributed to a long-form loneliness epidemic, which is something you might have heard about, right? Zoomers as a generation are having less sex, less kids being born. Zoomers are also the smallest cohort in a long time, which is a huge issue for the long-term longevity of a nation. COVID wiped out a lot of places for people who live in cities too, right? So what you're saying is legalize drunk driving. Well, anyway, the internet didn't really remedy loneliness. It's a band-aid fix for a deep bleeding wound, right? Because I can socialize with people on Discord, but that socialization isn't equal to spending time with two people in front of each other, right? And a lot of people don't even socialize. And that's how you end up with incel behavior. Yeah. Incel behavior is a long form example of that. But the point is that you or I need a third place. We need places to socialize with people. We're social creatures. If you're an introvert, that's fine, but you can't go through life not socializing. That's important, right? Face to face is different than screen to screen. Yeah, 100%. I can go to my local fish store and look at the fish. It's so soothing. You can't talk to the fish. I mean, you can, but they're not going to talk back. You can't have an articulate discussion with the fish. Sometimes you want a hug. Anyway, the point of the matter is that you need a third place. And we have less and less third places. There are plenty of townships that don't even have libraries, for example, right? I mean, obviously go outside, right? But we need to have communities that incentivize a productive amount of going outside. I walk outside now, there's nothing around me. I'd have to drive there. I can totally have a discussion with the face. Yeah, you need a place to socialize with people in person, right? So I think a lot of some of the mental issues that we see from a lot of people these days is a byproduct of the fact that they don't really touch grass, if you want to be, pedantic about it. Yeah, the world being overpopulated is a horrible reason not to be concerned about falling populations. A significant amount of those people are aging rapidly and dying. 100%. You should be really worried if a first world nation is going through a population crisis. Okay. That's a humongous issue, right? Because you can have long term less economic output. Less economic output means less economic prosperity. Like there's so many issues that come from a population crisis in a nation, right? When there's less prosperity in a nation, more people are going to leave, which is going to exacerbate the issue further and further, right? So you're going to have people leave the country. All of this is really humongous issues for nations, right? Some nations just deal with it and they go, well, there's nothing we can do about it, right? Like everybody memes about Shinzo Abe's, he was the Japanese prime minister before he was shot. Very interesting story, by the way. He was killed by a guy who, whose family was put in debt by the Moonies because Shinzo Abe had a positive relationship with the new religious movement, which was the Moonanites. They've renamed themselves as a religion, but yeah. But yeah, the overpopulation thing, I don't really think is as big of an issue as some. I think a lot of turn of the millennia scientists kind of popularized that idea that we'd reach a zenith and then start to have world hunger or stuff like that. I would argue national depopulation in nations like America or like Russia can start to lead to issues that are much more pressing in the immediate term in your life. But yeah. Oh yeah, that was the stuff with Shinzo Abe was wild. That shit was wild. It was fucking insane. Okay. I am going to reset my brain by walking away and taking a piss. And we are going to get through the rest of Ethel's video. Okay? So I'll be right back. Oh my god, what a fucking tangent that was. Holy shit. I'll be right back, chat. Isn't isn't negative XP like an incel or something? I know there's like lore there. With that artist. Yeah. Like the stream if you like Diesel yapping. For real, for real. For real, for real. Jesus. That was like an hour-long tangent, I just want to say. Hey Diesel, I had a discussion with a couple friends the other day about body types. Do you think stout dwarf is a good new body type category? In what, like potential partners? Oh shit. It was like an hour. Yeah, apparently. I just checked the time. Here, hands. Hands a little, they're a little moist still. I don't know. Everybody's like, well, fucking wash your hands, Diesel.
For running sexual streams.
Ugh, crack open my neck there. Ooh, baby. You scrub your thumb. My thumbs are good. I don't know what to tell you.
Even YouTube's terms of service state very clearly that explicit content meant to be sexually gratifying is not allowed on YouTube, which is further expanded upon to include nudity or partial nudity that's meant for sexual gratification. And yet, in spite of banning all sexually gratifying content, YouTube still has an 18+ category, something that would not exist if 18+ were synonymous with sexually gratifying content, like Lily is pretending. And Lily knows this, that's why she deletes her streams to ensure that they're never flagged for said sexual content, which Scov reduces down to.
She also apparently
Diesel, please, just a little flex now. I'm like super sore right now. I think I'm fighting something too. I don't know. I'm feeling a little sick.
this a lot on YouTube live
I guess this video making me sick.
streams and would get away with it by deleting the stream immediately after, which is just completely against YouTube's terms of service.
This shit just keeps on happening throughout the entire 30-minute section, minus the 1 minute discussed at the start. That is the entire fucking section, ripped straight from our series. And while
So it's a series, so you're implying she watched all 7 videos and took it. That's very presumptuous of you.
I get that it's more or less a footnotes edition, the thing about footnotes is that they don't
Please
compete with
just
the original.
flex. Fuck. But I'm wearing like a... I'm wearing a long sleeve. Whew.
And they certainly don't fucking pretend
Yeah, it's like it's obvious, yeah.
like they're not based on the original. Returning to my researcher paper analogy, this is beyond simply strip mining a
You
paper
guys are so thirsty, it's insane.
for its data and graphs. This is like reading the paper, strip mining it, and then attempting to rewrite what was originally written from memory, adding virtually no original thought. And the lazy
You guys are so fucking thirsty. It's a wild how thirsty you are.
fucking show.
No, I mean, overarching opinion, I think it'll get better. I think being black pill about it is cringe. I think there's a lot to be happy for in the future, still. And I think a majority of people, what you need to take away from this is to find people in your life that you love and trust and move forward with them on things that you appreciate, you know?
At one point in her video, Scov acknowledges that Lily Orchard lied about age verification on YouTube.
She also lied and said that YouTube requires somebody to submit their ID in order to watch 18+ streams, which is not true. Like, that's just not true. And she would also know that that's not true. And anybody who's ever watched any kind of age-restricted content on YouTube would also know that that's not true. So I don't know how you make such a blatant lie and just expect everybody to take that at face value, but this seems to be a thing that controversial creators do. I don't get it.
If I get gender envy, you're valid. Don't worry.
Never gonna get it. Doesn't make any sense.
Yet she fails to note the specifics of how Lily lied, leading Scov to present misinformation, giving Lily Orchard ammunition to discredit
$4.99 from Red Kitten in the Cradle. Thank you for the flex.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
not just Scov, but all her critics. For an actual explanation of the lie, we can return to my original breakdown of Lily's claim. Only problem is, this is false, at least in the way it has been presented here. You see, whilst YouTube has introduced ID verification in certain territories, the key phrase here is certain territories, namely Australia, the European Union, the European Economic Area, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. As you will notice, neither Canada, the place Lily is from, nor the US, the place where the majority of Lily's audience exists, are included on that list. So Lily is misinforming her audience, mine is included, as a means of hiding her predatory behavior. But wait, didn't Scov imply that she was falling back on her own personal experience as someone within the EU? Yeah, she did. For a channel that was created in 2012, meaning it was old enough to grandfather into the 18+ category when the laws were first introduced. I know because this channel, created in 2011, was the same. Yet the moment I set up my personal channel using a completely different email, selecting the UK as my country of origin, Google did require me to supply my ID. So, returning to the misinformation, Scov doesn't even do us the decency of going back to double check the specific context of her assertions, she just makes the most generic statement possible, and that's it. Which is not only dangerous in how it gives Lee Orchard ammunition, it's also fucking insulting. As with all plagiarism.
Ay, Dios. Oh, I'm such a victim. My name is Ethel. I am such a victim of circumstance. Oh no. I am also French now. Can we finish this video tomorrow? I don't want to drink all my alcohol in one night. You know what? That's a great idea. I was sitting here thinking to myself, I just want to stop. I want to stop. So that piss was a lie, chat. I have no patience to keep going, I think. I just can't. I'm tired. Not doing an accent in Texas. I know. Well, I'll do the Texas accent. You guys like that one, right? Well, well, well. Thank you for coming on to this here stream. But I think us cowpokes and fine cowgirls have to go mosey on down the trail somewhere else this evening. Because, well, my oh my, is this not a yeehaw moment indeed? I did wash my hands. I swear I now did dare gone wash my hands. But, y'all have a wonderful night, ladies and gentlemen. Bye, Poppy. Good night, Pookie. Later, chat. Oh my god.